Today on Gun Talk Nation, we've got Sean Curtis from Pew Pew Tactical. We're going to talk about training. We're going to talk about the new Springfield Armory Echelon pistol and a whole lot more. I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Remington Ammo, HI-VIZ Sights, Guns and Gear Television, Silencer Central, and RangeReadyStudios.com. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we got Sean Curtis, Pew Pew Tactical. How's it going, man?
Good, how are you?
Good. So if you're a gun nerd, well, if you're listening to Gun Talk Nation, you might be a gun nerd. You probably have seen Sean because this guy's like the face of a lot of videos associated with Pew Pew. Probably you have as weird of a time as I do when people say, "So what do you do for work?"
Yeah. That's been a fun transition for me, though, because I used to do law enforcement, and that was a very mixed bag. Sometimes I just didn't want to say, depending on who I was talking to. But it's definitely interesting now, especially like we moved to Austin in order to start working full time for Pew Pew. And going in and talking to, you get a setup with your dentist, your doctor, and all of those necessary medical things. And what do you list as your occupation? And when you say YouTuber, like you say writer, then they're like, oh, okay. But that's a wide category. You say YouTuber, and they're like, oh, well, what do you make videos about? There's still a mentality out there that is shocked that you can make money and make a living making videos.
Yeah. And I remember people would ask me, and then you always are like judging of like, how much do I want to tell them and how much of a conversation do I need to get into here? It's like, what do you do? I work in media. Or like, then I'd be more specific, like, oh, I produce TV shows, but that was too interesting. If they didn't want to have a conversation, I'd be like, really? What kind of stuff? Guns. And then I did that for a little while. Then I'm like, now I'm just like, we have a media company. We do stuff with guns. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you can gauge that reaction almost immediately when it's, oh, okay. And then they don't want to talk about it anymore.
I will say, and I think this is where I decided I'm not going to sugarcoat it or whatever. 9 out of 10 interactions were all positive. In fact, like really positive. And so I was just like, whatever. And if they don't like it, I don't really care. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, we're old enough to not have to be worried about that anymore, I think. And certainly as long as we've both been doing this, you got to be comfortable in your own skin. And I think, too, a big part of it is how approachable you are. If you're having that conversation in the first place, then in so many ways, you're being a good ambassador for the gun community at large.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, for the most part, I'd like to encourage our audience and really all the gun owners out there to don't be shy about saying that this is an interest, this is a hobby of mine. And it helps normalize it, helps make it more commonplace. Probably you either have 3 sets of people. You've got the people who think it's cool. They like guns, they shoot, they hunt, or they own a few and they have no problem with it. You've got people who are interested, like, oh, and especially these days, more and more people, wow, I don't own any guns, but I'd love to shoot a gun. I get that all the time. I'd love to shoot a gun.
Serious.
And I'm thinking about getting a gun. And I really think the people who just hate it or don't like it are actually, I guess it depends on where you live, perhaps, but it's fewer than you think. And those super duper rabid, like hate people, like even if they're like, I'm not real comfortable with guns. If you said something, they may just go, oh, okay. And they'll have nothing to add. They just move on. I don't know. That's my theory.
Yeah. And I think, the growth of the gun curious, I have a bit of a philosophy on that. toward the end of my law enforcement career, we were having a lot of things that were coming up that really caused the public to reevaluate law enforcement as a whole. And with the defund movements and a lot of the leadership within law enforcement agencies drawing back and telling their officers, okay, if it's not shooting at you or if it's not on fire, leave it alone. Just let people relax for a little while so that we're not constantly in their grills making a new video for YouTube. Then what happened is with defunding and with those policies that were enacted, even if they were, not official, then you had increased response time. And the more increased response times, with the pandemic, everything else happening, and people started seeing, hey, whether you're a liberal, whether you're super conservative, everything in between, if you have to rely on yourself to take care of the situation until law enforcement is able to get there, that might make you think about how you might better serve yourself in that situation or your family. So it's kind of an open door that I think is great for pulling people in, because there's a stark reality there that response times have been increasing across the nation, and I don't know when that's going to get fixed, because a lot of agencies are down in their hiring.
That's a tough hill to climb. It's an uphill battle. I mean, I know we're just outside of the New Orleans metro, and they are like way behind where I think they should be at like 1,500 officers, and they're like 900.
Right.
And it's tough to make up that ground. I mean, you have to market it to like 1 million people, and then it's like half of those would even respond, and half of those. I mean, it's crazy to even get those numbers back up. And so many people are going, yeah, the cops are telling people you're on your own. We can't be there quickly. In fact, what was the guy at the Parkland thing, was the school resource officer was just found not guilty, not responsible. He didn't have to respond. Him and going hiding behind a tree and waiting for a half hour was okay. They investigated, they had a trial, the whole deal, and they went, he has no duty to protect you. He has no legal obligation to protect you. You're like, but that's the job, right? Like, he's a school resource officer. Like, nope, he's fine. Carry on. Like, okay, yeah. Roger that.
I have some opinions about that.
Feel free to share.
Independent of pew tactical, my thought on that particular issue is that the job is protecting and serving. And it's challenging sometimes because, we always compare ourselves to like firefighters and EMTs, because we're the ones who are coming when things are at their worst. But for the most part, no one complains when the fire department shows up, right? When your house is on fire or you've got a cat in a tree or something like that, like, yeah, yay. When you have a drunk mother who crashes her car and you have to take mom to jail, you're not so popular then. You're still helping, right? You're helping society. Maybe you're helping her, but you're not so popular in that sense. And that applies to these situations where as a whole, we make decisions and we think we have an idea of what our job is supposed to be, but the courts come back and say, oh, no, there's actually no legal requirement. That's crap. You sign up, you do that job because you're there to make a difference. And so I really struggle with the last few examples that we've seen of law enforcement failing to act. You can get sued all day long for something that you did, but oftentimes you can be sued for failing to act too, and causing negligence or having some kind of bad result that happens. And I understand that while there is a legal precedent that states that we may not have a duty to protect, every day or every night when I would suit up and head up, that was absolutely what I intended to do. And that those qualities that were in me that drew me to that work in the first place are still there. I mean, I still have that mindset. This is kind of where I live. So granted, there are going to be examples. Law enforcement is comprised of a lot of different folks, and we all know that in every career, there's going to be good ones, there's going to be a few bad ones, and a lot of in between, like the middle of the road, go out and do their job every day, and hopefully nothing bad happens. But we have our bright moments too. We have our bright moments.
There's been several interesting good videos of law enforcement showing up in mass shooting stuff, like stopping people while the thing's going on, and they help. So I mean, there have been several great examples of that. And if you're I guess we can talk about it here. If you're kind of a gun nerd and also like a self-defense interested guy, watching those videos is fairly instructive, and you can learn some things and get some takeaways from it. Sean, I know you shoot a ton of new guns. You get a bunch of guns in like we do. We're going to take a quick break. After the break, we'll talk about some of the new stuff. If you're going to put a silencer on a gun, typically most people are going direct thread, or even if you have some sort of other muzzle device, QD attachment, you need your barrel to be threaded. And Silencer Central actually does barrel threading. It's a unique barrel threading service where you can ship the gun directly to them or drop it at their headquarters, and simply strip your rifle down to a barreled action for easy handling, and they'll do the rest. No matter if it's a common hunting rifle or a custom match grade piece, they are ready to take on the threading of your barrel. And so just check it out, silencercentral.com, and they will thread your barrel. They know what they're doing. They do it every single day. Range Ready Studios is our training division, and we have a whole new batch of courses. And I've got good news, I got bad news. These courses are filling up. The Colt 1911 Experience at Range Ready, 2-day pistol class, where the price of the course also includes you owning that Colt 1911 you shoot for the week after the course. I'm sorry, it's all full. But we also have some other ones coming up. Ruger SFAR and EOTech Optics Experience, where included in the price of the class, you get the Ruger SFAR. You take it home with you. I mean, if you're here, or we'll send it to your local FFL. That class is full now. I'm telling you, you guys have to go to rangereadystudios.com, sign up for the email alerts. You'll be the first ones to hear about it. The one that I'm most excited about, there are still spots available. It's Hands to Guns with Max Michel and Steve Tarani. And we were talking about this thing in the hallway, and I said, this is really like the John Wick beginner course. You have Max Michel, one of the best, fastest pistol shooters in the world, Guinness Book World Record holder, and you have Steve Tarani, who is a martial arts expert, hand-to-hand, knives. He also knows guns. It's a 3-day course. It's going on in October. So go over to rangereadystudios.com to find out more. Sig Sauer has a deal going on for a limited time. It's the 20 for 20 deal. Get 20% off your entire cart when you add 20 boxes of SIG pistol ammo to your cart. What? Yeah, I just said that. SigSauer.com. You can buy the ammo, put 20 boxes of SIG pistol ammo in your cart. You're going to get 20% off the entire order. Go check it out, SigSauer.com. All right, so Sean, there's a bunch of new stuff breaking. Gosh, and several things in the last week and several things coming up. It's a funny thing. This is, before we get into the new guns, this is a funny thing that I don't talk about much. So you and I know each other. We'll go on different media events and see each other, or see each other at NRA show, SHOT Show, and all these other media guys. It's a little bit of like a traveling circus. There's 50 or 100 of us that kind of know each other. And we all have to sign NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. And so I find that sometimes you're together and it's like, you can't say, hey, the new thing next week. And you're looking at each other like, do you know? Do you know? Yeah, we both know. Can we talk about it?
Right. Yeah. That is so specific to this industry and our particular part of this industry.
Yeah.
I I had that happen recently. I mean, you and I just met at the Security event recently at the site in Illinois. The week before that, Johnny and I were out at SIG's Electro Optics out in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And the same thing, we get on these vans or buses and we're being shuttled here and there, back and forth. And we invariably have a lot in common because we're all doing the same job to one degree or another. And we talk about, well, what have you reviewed lately that's been really cool, or got any projects that you're working on? And so you're trying to think back through email threads of, was that person on copy for, was it a group email? Was it
Do they know?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, guys, like people listening may not know that like certain companies, they're not sharing this with everybody. So, I mean, and more specifically, people who like burn those embargo, they let out the cat out of the bag before the launch date. They get kind of on the crap list for certain companies. It may be, Glock doesn't like this magazine writer guy, or Ruger doesn't like this blogger person. So not everybody knows all the things, but I will say we've had a couple launch recently, and I guess this one will be out. This podcast will be out this week. Springfield Armory Echelon pistol, and also Smith & Wesson released a 22 mag M&P pistol, and I can't remember what they called it. But have you shot those? I mean, any thoughts?
I did a pretty thorough review on the Echelon and really enjoyed it. My last 7.5 years, I worked at the DA's office as an investigator, and I was also a firearms instructor for our agency, but I also taught occasionally at the local academy. So I have some chops there. And when they sent the Echelon out to me and told me that it was going to be a duty weapon, I was like, okay, we'll see about that. So we took it out a couple different times and ran up just over a case through it. And it was outstanding. I mean, the VIS, the optic system that they have, really low set, combined with their irons that are installed on it. You get co-witness automatically. The VIS also has over 30 optic mounts, or 30 optics that can mount to it without a plate, which is also really good.
That's the big deal. It's a really interesting system. It doesn't use plates, but if you're familiar with mounting red dots on pistols, in the past, typically it's plates that have these little pegs and to match with the holes, the coordinating holes of which pattern it is. Is it a delta point? Is it an RMR? Is it a shield? But instead of using the plates with the little bumps in it, now it's a series of pegs with holes already there. So like all the holes are there basically, and you just pick which pegs and which holes they go in. Lets you sit the optic lower, so you get that kind of co-witness without having to have real tall suppressor height sights. And I think they said it should work for like 30 different optics models.
Yeah, over 30. So the pins that you're talking about, they're camming pins. They lock in whenever you drop them into the right place, and then you're able to put that mount flush to the slide on top of it. So like you said, low co-witness enabled, and just a good system overall.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It is funny how when new guns come out, people have strong opinions about guns they've never seen or held in person.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the comments that I'm getting right now are, well, what's this do that my HK VP9 doesn't do? One guy asked, what's this do that my SIG P320 doesn't do? And I simply replied, I'm sure someone will come along and help you with that. And they did. It was rather spicy.
Oh, there's enough spice on the internet for everybody, I think.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely enough to go around. But I think another thing that's really cool is with the Echelon, you get the fire control system inside of it that's removable.
Yeah, the COG. I think they come up with names for everything.
Sure. It's the COG, Centralized Operating Group. And there's a lot of things that go into, especially a law enforcement pistol. You definitely have to have reliability, unquestionable. You have to have good accuracy. But there's things that people don't intuit immediately about what it takes to have a law enforcement gun that will work really well for an agency. I was a lieutenant for a while, and I had a wide array of deputies that I worked with that were very different in size. I had people with 2x hands like me,
Mm-hmm.
but I also had people with extra small hands. And having one gun that fit everybody was not possible. We had to try to stick with modularity. So, there's always the argument of, oh, can you swap out a mag in the middle of a firefight or something like that?
Right.
My philosophy was always, I'd rather that deputy have a firearm that they were proficient with because it fit them well and they were accurate and they could manipulate it easily without having a lot of problems, rather than have one firearm that fits across the entire agency.
Are we? I mean, how often are we throwing mags to each other in a firefight as a law enforcement officer?
Usually, it's over much quicker than all of that. But on top of that, when you have the Echelon, you've got 3 different frame sizes. So if you're looking at an agency that has an armorer, a dedicated armorer that's going to be maintaining, issuing, and fitting these firearms to the individual officers, having that flexibility is going to be great. Plus, it's ambidextrous from the get-go. So there's a lot of, you don't have to swap the magazine release per se, like go from left to right side. It's there. They're both there.
Yeah. And I'll say also, you and I both get to shoot hundreds of guns each year, and over the course of more than a decade, been doing it a while. Yeah. I will say, in general, I'm pretty sure the Springfield Armory guns, I'm pretty sure I've never had an issue with any of them as far as like reliability and functioning. I mean, people can like and dislike and have their opinions about guns. I mean, hey, the world's your oyster, and more flavors and colors are always fun. But I mean, as far as functioning and reliability, it's one of the companies that I can say I don't think I've ever had an issue.
Yeah. I haven't had a lot of experience with Springfield firearms, just how it worked out. And one of the things that I noted when I was writing the actual review for the Echelon was, in all of my career, I saw a few different firearms wielded by, I've interfaced with thousands of officers over the years at trainings, at seminars, and stuff like that. And you ultimately find out what most people are carrying, and usually it's Glock. There's a lot of Glocks out there, occasionally some Smiths, sometimes some 6 hours, but I never saw Springfield deployed. And I think that's going to change now because they've got something that really checks all the boxes for the officer on the street now.
Cool. Well, Sean, you and I were both in Illinois for this media event. After the break, I want to talk about shooting at the site, shooting carbines, and training with the Secure products. There's a lot going on right now at Ruger. They got the Ruger LC Charger, a large format pistol. And if you think it shoots a 5.7, it's something that you kind of have to go to their website to see, to understand. But go check that out. They've got the Ruger Ready Dot, fits the Ruger Max 9 pistol. I was actually on the range yesterday with that, standing casually at about 40 yards and pinging steel. It's got a 15 MOA dot, which some people would say is too big to do that, but we were doing it. Paired that with the Max 9. I like the trigger on that. The Super Wrangler shoots both 22 LR and 22 mag. The LCP Max. I mean, just a bunch going on. So if you haven't checked them out lately, go over to Ruger.com and see what those guys are up to. When you watch our stuff, listen to our stuff, a lot of the times when we're on the range, we're shooting steel targets. And a lot of the steel we shoot are MGM targets. These are people who know how to make steel targets. They're high quality, so they're durable. They're also manufactured safely, because the wrong hobbyist steel target can not be safe to shoot. And they also have, I mean, these are shooters. I mean, Travis Gibson, Mike Gibson, these guys are shooters. So they design it. They are shooters. It's for shooters. They have professional targets. They have competition targets, and then recreational targets. So if you have a little piece of land, I like to just set up steel. You leave it out there. It doesn't matter if it gets rained on, and you always have targets ready to shoot. You can find out more over at mgmtargets.com. Did you guys know that Remington ammo, the Remington brand, the Big Green, as they like to call it, does more than just ammo? And for many, many years, they were one of the largest knife companies out there. Well, right now, they have a big sale going on all Remington cutlery, 25% off through almost the end of July, so you better hurry up. But, of course, they've got handgun ammo, rifle ammo, shot shell ammo, rimfire ammo, muzzle loading, hand loading stuff, gun care. They still have the Rem Oil for you Rem Oil fans out there. But the cutlery is on sale. Go check them out. I was kind of scrolling through here going, oh, man, I remember that one. That's a cool one. You can see all of it over at remington.com. There's a new season of Guns and Gear, season 15. Can you believe it? I can't. And this year, we're on a bunch of networks. So from now through the end of September, we're going to be on the Outdoor Channel. And so good news for you, because if you didn't have it before, now you can watch it. Here are your air times. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays, in the wee hours of the morning, 2 a.m., and then Fridays at 6 a.m. Eastern on the Outdoor Channel. Tune in, see what's new in the whole world of guns and gear. So we were both, we met up in Illinois. We get to go to these media events, and Secure It, all one word, Secure It, was putting on this event at the site, which was formerly a Blackwater training facility. I think I can say that. I just did. I hope it's okay. And now it's privately owned. They just run classes and events and stuff. But doing some carbine class work. And I guess what was your takeaway from the event? I mean, thoughts, reactions, whatever.
Yeah, sure. It's it's interesting. The last time I'd been to the site was for the Walther PDP release. And Walther has the Walther Defense Division, which consists of some really high-end instructors. Scott Jedlinski, Nick Young. There's quite a Tatiana Whitlock. I mean, there's a few of them in there. Bill Blauer. And they dragged us out to the site and ran us through it, man. They made us shoot that gun. We went through cases of ammo under different circumstances. And the facility itself was great. Plus, we got an amazing look at those firearms. Returning to the site, having that sort of watermark in my mind, I had some high expectations. But then I was thinking, well, we're going to be using gun storage products.
Right. Sure. We're going to a shooting event, and this is basically it's a gun safe company. They have gun safes, right. They have handgun vaults, they've got storage lockers. Right. I mean, they're all cool stuff. But yeah, we're going to go shoot guns.
Yeah. And how do you implement training with a firearms storage device into part of your routine? But man, I'll tell you, by the time we were done, and I'm saying this from a firearms instructor's perspective, it was really well done. We spent a couple of days on flat range, working rifle, shooting steel, just getting some baseline for our instructors to see, because not everybody shows up despite being a gun writer for dozens of years or being a video producer for however long in the firearms industry. There's a wide variety of shooting abilities out there.
Yes.
I do okay. Ryan shoots extremely well, and the instructor got to see where all of us were, because ultimately what we were leading up to was work in a shoot house with
right.
them and then with live fire. So that gave them a good baseline, and then we worked our way up to, okay, now you have a situation, there's an intruder in your house, and your rifle is stored in this secure uh, locker, and you've got to go over there, access it, move through the house, and engage that target. And man, getting that scenario, having cameras on you, just moving through a huge house again, it gets the old blood going. And so it makes you stop and think, okay, I go into my safe dozens of times a week, right? Like moving inventory, getting guns out, getting in, ready to go for reviews, putting them away. And then I don't have that mindset at the moment. I'm not thinking, oh, somebody's going to get it, or like, what was that noise? I don't have that mindset. I'm very relaxed. I'm very calm, conditioned white, at my home, very relaxed. But throwing that mindset back out there, making you work through pushing the buttons and manipulate that thing to get it open and get your firearm out and engage. That was it's kind of a training gap. I think that it would be wise for people to start looking at.
Yeah, first of all, it's always great to not just go shoot guns, but go do some training. And I mean, we do get to shoot guns often, weekly, maybe almost daily, depending on the week. But do some training. I just love it. And we had Fred Massison helping us out for the first couple days, getting us squared away, kind of working us up from super basic to doing some fun drills with carbines. For the most part, it was carbines and LMT rifles, which, by the way, great guns, and they have some really nice suppressors too. But and I like what you said, but I'll tell people the real story here is day 3. They brought in another trainer who was like a trainer who works with the site, and I'm just blanking on his name right now, Sean. Joe. So Joe's a trainer, SWAT guy, investigator guy. You could tell pretty quickly he was a very squared away, but also real friendly, approachable guy. But he was bringing us in to do live fire in a shoot house, which is, there's an element of danger to that, even when it's just shooting paper targets that are on backers. So what did Joe do to us when he's like, all right, welcome to day 3. The way I kind of like to start, I was doing a little dry fire and just getting everybody comfortable. So we go out onto the real outdoor square range in the morning. He said, this is with carbines that have optics on them. And he says, we're going to do 50 low ready, come up, one shot, then run the charging handle, reset the gun, reset the trigger, do that again. 50 times, 50 from high ready, 50 from compressed ready. Everybody was smoked by the end of this, right?
Yeah. And again, that I did not know where we were going to end up with our training. And when you think of that in light of where we ended up, which was coordinated entries into a room, right, with a bunch of some military there, a lot of civilian folks, a lot of people who've never had any kind of SWAT or CQB type training before. When you realize that the end goal is, okay, we're going to have you go in the room and then you go in the room after them. It gave Joe
with real guns in a shoot house. Yeah.
Live fire. It gave the instructor the ability to look and see, okay, how do people's gun handling skills drop when they start to fatigue?
Exactly. He was assessing us, Sean. He was like, okay, I'm going to watch everybody. And then when they start getting fatigued, are they falling apart? Are they not safe? That's really what the main thing was, right? Not, are you good at shooting, but can you hold it together? Because I don't care who you are. Everybody on the line was fatigued. And then he said, okay, 20 rounds of live fire, but like one shot at a time, same thing. 20 rounds from low ready, 20 rounds from high ready, 20 rounds from compressed ready, one shot at a time. So then you had to do 60 more reps. It was an instructive thing. It was interesting to kind of go, I see what's going on here, but I kind of liked it. I liked whew, all right, we're really drilling ourselves now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is too, slightly different rifles. We're using the Triticon MRO on most of the rifles.
Mm-hmm.
We had slings. Some of us had plate carriers that they'd given us. And so that's going to change some of the minor aspects of how you present and how you shoulder and how you acquire your target. So those reps actually, they helped out quite a bit, because granted, there are some positions that I don't spend a lot of time on. High compress,
Right.
like I'm not kicking doors anymore. So that's not something that I have to deal with. So
but you could see the use for it when you started kind of implementing some of the drills.
Yeah.
I think also that it's always great when you run through a multi-day class and then you're running all this gear, because a lot of people, they don't do I'm gonna tell on all of us, you don't do the LARPing thing where you have all that stuff on. You we go to the range, you may break your AR out of the case and just shoot it. You may not have a sling on it. You may not be running a chest rig. And when you go, well, let's put all that gear on and test it out, right? And see, oh, wait a minute, I need to shorten my stock a little bit, or I'm catching on this, or my sling needs to go on the other side of the stock, or whatever it is.
Yeah, you find that's one in particular that I would point out. Like some people will run their sling to the QD on the inside. So if you're right-handed, they'll run it on the inside shoulder of that side. But when you run a plate carrier and now you've got stuff that it's going to drag on, you might want to hook it to the outside. It comes to personal preference, and you also find out in those 50 repetitions what's working and what isn't, and have to make adjustments. Better to do that then than when you say, okay, let's stack up on this door, I'll go, you go.
Right.
And find out that you might have a problem.
I will tell a funny story on one of our friends, because it was less serious and more fun part is they gave us these goofy white and lime green airsoft guns, and they had two of them. I think they wanted to get more, but they only had the two, and it would go semi-auto, it would go 3-round burst, and it would go full auto. So, all right, cool. We're at this shoot house, and they said, all right, guys, here's what we're going to do. One of you goes in, and one of you has 60 seconds, and then you get to go in kind of as the bad guy, right? Like, so I kind of viewed it as like, you're in your home, you can pick where you want to be in your home, but in 60 seconds, somebody's coming through the front door. And they did know that. We knew, okay, they have to come through this front door. So it was really mano a mano. I mean, what I did, well, the first time it was a little bit of a Tarantino movie where we kind of both shot each other. I think I got him first, and I quote unquote won, but I mean, I think we both ended up getting hit. It was a mess. And then the second one, I go in, and I'm looking at the front door opens into this big living room kind of size room. And I'm like, ooh, I'm going to get against the wall, same wall as the front door. So when he comes in, I can catch him from the side. And then I thought, wait a minute, there's a table here, like one of those big white folding tables. I'll get under the white folding table that's also against that same wall. And Fred, our trainer, said he's watching this as he can see everything going on. And he's going, oh God, he's watching me get under the table. He goes, this is going to be a murder. And our buddy Jack walks through the front door, and I'm thinking, he's toast. Like he's literally, he's pieing, he's being tactical, but it was just a totally unfair situation. And I went full auto from the ground up towards his middle part. I think I caught a lot of thigh, but we're friends and it was fun.
Oh yeah, you stitched him up good. The funny thing about those guns, they shot like gel caps or something like that. It was weird that like little pellets that would burst, but the magazine was a hopper that was like a bottle.
That's right.
Down on top of the gun. So right in front of your eye line where you have this big thing.
Yeah, you can't aim anything.
Yeah. So I was happy about that, at least when they started shooting at us from on top of the gangplank. That was, or the walkway. That catwalk was kind of fun. But yeah, it was a good training experience. Low risk. We didn't suffer too badly for our mistakes there.
No, it didn't hurt too bad. It was kind of like a little minor sting, but yeah, I think those guns should have been named the spray and pray guns because that's about all you could do with those things. Everybody quickly
Yeah.
figured out just go full auto. Don't try
Right,
to
yeah.
be strategic about this. Just go full auto and just unleash.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good time. And again, you look at the training backbone that was laid out in our curriculum. You don't want to think of it as a curriculum, right? But if you analyze it, you go back and you see where we started. It was
Yeah.
very crawl, walk, run. And they were very deliberate about that. And I respect the heck out of that because, one, it's a good foundation. It gives everybody a chance to get on the same page, right? Because, like I said earlier, not everybody there is going to be an expert shooter when you show up. You'll have some good ones, some bad ones, and everybody in between. And that helped us all get up basically on the same understanding and same terms, same safety, and then learn new things on top of that without putting anybody at risk. And that's a good way to do it.
It was fun. Sean, what else is going on with Pew Pew Tactical these days? I mean, you guys have like a huge presence online, but anything to report to the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. We have something that we've got in beta right now that's called a Pew Pew meter. And if you're familiar with Rotten Tomatoes, it's like a
Okay.
thermometer where you can go in and you select a firearm that you're interested in, and you go in and give it a review. We realize that we review a lot of firearms, and we have our own prejudices and the things that we like and things that we dislike. And it's not always representative of the whole, of what the entire firearms community might think. I might have a poor experience with a gun, but hundreds of thousands of people have had a great experience with that gun. Pew Pew Meter is an option for folks to come in and rate their firearms the way they like it. So we have it at the top of the page. You go to pptactical.com and you'll see gun ratings with right now it's got a red beta tag over it. Click into
I'm
that,
seeing it.
create an account, and man, you can get in there and sound off about the firearms that you like, and you can even put text in there for the things that you like.
Very cool. Well, Sean, thanks for spending a little time with us. It's always good to catch up.
My pleasure, brother. It's always good to see you.
Everybody, that is it for us. We'll see you guys next time on Gun Talk Nation.